What's going on, guys? It's your boy Motomain Dane, and today we're here to talk about a game called Defend the Rook. Now, I played Defend the Rook quite some time ago, so this footage you're seeing is me trying to remember how to play the game a little bit, so we don't do too well. But this game holds a bit of a special place in my heart because there was an old Flash game that I used to play online. This is back like 20 years ago, maybe more, and it's called Tactics Online. Now, they've recently redone Tactics Online because there was enough people that liked playing it, but it was very similar to this, except it was multiplayer. Well, somewhat similar to this. So it was, this sort of angle, and you had units had abilities, powers, whatever. This game took tower defense and kind of mixed it with that, that sort of turn-based ability, units having abilities stuff. So it's pretty good. I liked it. I think it's a unique take on tower defense, but it's not super tower defensey because it's more based on something like Tactics Online. So if you haven't checked out what Tactics Online is, and this sort of thing is your bag, then that's definitely something to check out. Or if you're just curious about older things on the internet from a long time ago. So definitely, this game reminded me of that a lot, so I was glad it was able to take me down that road of memory. But anyways, so about it being a tower defense, towers 2 out of 10. You don't do a ton with towers. There's 3 different ones that you can pick, and you can upgrade them a little bit after each map is over, but not a ton. And there's not a ton of strategy involved with, building for the enemy or anything. It's a bit RNG based because this does have the roguelite aspect to it. So you don't really know what you're getting into. So you just kind of pick whatever makes sense for, I guess, maybe the heroes that you have. So the towers, 2 out of 10. There's no targeting. There's no upgrades, nothing like that. So enemies, 10 out of 10. The enemies on this are pretty unique. They all have damage, and they're trying to take out your tower, your main tower, which you can change to 3 different ones. It's got its own power of itself. It's relatively defended just by default. And, the enemies, I give them a 10 out of 10. They all, some enemies buff other enemies. They faster than others. Some are ranged. Some do explosion damage upon death. They all have special abilities. You can select them to read all that stuff. You know exactly everything about them. So, enemies 10 out of 10. For progression, it's 4 out of 10. It's a roguelite. There's 5 different maps that you have to play through to beat the boss. Or the final one is the boss. I guess the final boss. And you have to kind of make your way through the different ones. But there's really only 5 levels. The maps themselves change where like tower placements are, which are also barriers of entry for enemies. So it's not like a normal tower defense where you pick a map and you could play it and you can get better at it, strategize, try it over and over again. This is because the maps themselves are a bit RNG. The progression is also not like, I don't know. I guess it's linear, but you just don't have a lot of options to pick from because there's only going to be 5 maps every time you play. The maps can be a little bit different in theme, but overall they're the same. So progression's 4 out of 10. Special enemies, 10 out of 10. You got bosses. You have enemies that will, do more damage the more spaces they move and stuff. So it's kind of in the same regards of enemies. The special enemies are also a 10 out of 10. You have some enemies. There's an enemy there that if you kill it, then you get bonus resources. There's an enemy that if you kill it, you heal your units, but you don't have to. Special enemies, 10 out of 10. Resource, 0 out of 10. There's no resource. You place towers, you just have a certain amount of them. Units, a certain amount of them. You can't generate anything. I mean, there is the golden experience up on the top right corner, but that's used for upgrading outside of the game, not inside. Resources is supposed to be inside the game for tower defense games. So resource 0 out of 10. The micro pacing, there is no micro, and there is no pacing. It's turn-based, so it's a 0 out of 10. The macro play is a 6 out of 10. There are a lot of things that you can do to the enemies. There are spells that you can cast. You got 3 different spells you can cast. Plus, there's like some sort of a barricade thing that you can place. There's 3 different versions of it. And then there's also traps that you can place around the enemies after the enemies spawn. Some of your heroes can do things to enemies as well. So the macro play, it's 6 out of 10. For map design, it is a 4 out of 10. Like I said, the maps are basically all the same. There's no uniqueness in the maps themselves other than just the RNG for where the towers are placed. I tend to like to stick my units in a corner that is relatively defended. That can be a bad thing if the enemy has range units and you're trying to get your melee units or range units closer to target them. Those could get in the way. But other than that, you know, there's no special tiles, and all the maps are just pretty much the same. So, 4 out of 10. For the strategy combat, it is pure strategy. There's no combat. It's a pure strategy game. 10 out of 10. Replayability, I give it a 4 out of 10. You know, there is an endless mode, but there's nothing outside of that. Yeah. The roguelite aspect doesn't really help it be more replayable. Like, if the maps maybe changed, but not much else did. You know, like the enemies were always going to be the first boss you get is always going to be the first boss. Maybe like the enemies that you get, you're always going to get the same kind of enemies, same difficulty of enemies, that sort of thing. That would be dope, but yeah. There's just quite a few different roguelike stuff, but I just don't think it helps the replayability of the game enough. Especially after you've kind of unlocked all of the upgrades. Then you're like, not much else to do there. So, replayability 4 out of 10. And the price. It is $18, which is very steep for a tower defense game. As I said in the last video, that was $20. That's upper end of tower defense games, and for a tower defense game, $18 is a lot. For this game and its tower defense aspects, I have to give it a 1 out of 10. I could see this being a $12.99, maybe an $11.99 game. I would probably wait till it's below $10 before picking it up myself. So I give it a 1 out of 10. Which leaves our total for Defend the Rook on how tower defense-y this tower defense game is. A 59 out of 100. And that takes Defend the Rook all the way to the B tier. Alright guys, that being said, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Do let me know what you think about the game in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you on the flip side. Deuces.